everybody, I'm Danny Otto. Welcome into an all-new episode of That Recap Show. Now, before we get into the episode, just want to issue major spoiler alert. We are going to be going over everything that happened in Season 2, Episode 6 of Peacemaker. So if you haven't watched that episode yet, you may want to pause this video, head over to HBO Max, check out that episode, and then come back and enjoy the breakdown. Now, with that out of the way, let's start the show!
Poppin' Off presents That Recap Show.
All right, join in with me to break down everything from Episode 6, Season 2 of Peacemaker. It's Jon Rico!
We Spider-Man memed.
Hey, we Spider-Man memed!
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you if you wanted me to go through alligator facts until somebody else knew them and then they could take over.
I know that was the animal of the week for Adrian.
I like that we get new episodes. I was also going to ask what your favorite Pokemon was and if it was Infernape.
Never heard. Oh, Infernape?
Infernape.
Is that what? Oh,
It's Infernape. I know that Pokemon. I should have got the name right. I just I messed up on the name.
That's my generation, I think.
I like that generation of Pokemon. They have some good ones, but that's Chimchar. That's one of the starters for that gen. I can't
Also
remember
never
what
heard
gen.
of it.
You know Chimchar? Chimchar is the fire.
No,
starter.
I'm generation 1 and 2, and that's about it.
Yeah, but I followed them all, like all the remakes and stuff. I followed them.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's unlike normally, we had plenty of things to say. Is my point, because we got a lot of Adrian in this. We got a lot of stuff in Episode 6 that was some of the stuff that we had missed, some of the joking, some of the Adrian stuff, like all of this
very
stuff.
Adrian heavy this episode. Yeah.
But even in so like we definitely have very serious moments in this episode. But like I feel like unlike this episode, it was unlike Episode 5, this episode had a very balanced, kind of episode where we had some emotional moments, we had some really funny moments, we had some random Adrian fact moments and stuff like that all mixed together. This was a very, super balanced episode in comparison to Episode 5, which was very, it was heavy. I mean, it was heavy on emotion. It was heavy on, just kind of like Chris saying I'm leaving and that's it. Like, you know what I mean? Like that was a very heavy episode and we needed to have that episode, but to then be able to bounce back with an episode like this, I think just like accentuated the funny moments. And I got to start off with one of my absolute favorite moments, not only of this season, but of last season too, because I fell into this category. And it's when, the entire group of the 11th Street kids, go to Adrian on Earth 1. Chris has already left, and they're like, fuck it, we're gonna go find him and get him and bring him back.
Yeah.
So they go to Adrian's house, because nobody really at Argus knows his secret identity type of thing. So they thought it was the safest place to go. And where Adrian's mom starts talking to each one of them and kind of basically blabbing of all the stuff that Adrian has basically made up or just lied to his mom about. Yeah. But like one of them goes, or she goes to Harcourt.
Hardcore?
Shut up, Mom.
Harcourt, not hardcore.
Oh, I thought it was hard.
You're not alone, but no.
Yeah. A lot of people do. And I was like, it's me. I'm that person. I'm one of them.
Right to you.
Yeah, I'm one of them.
Yeah.
But that had
mom.
Yeah. That had me on the floor. Just like that, such a meta joke in that, like, and even like not only meta, but like fourth wall break joke type of thing, just because so many people.
Oh yeah, definitely poking fun at the fans.
Yeah. Oh, I thought it was perfect. And it wasn't even like this crazy out like where they waited for that punchline or anything like that. It was just in there, and I was like, did that really just happen? Like, I actually had to. I watched that part twice because I was like, that was so perfect that it burned me in the way of like I just wanted it again.
Right.
But that was great, and it set everything in motion for the rest of this episode. And like I said, there's so many, awesome parts of this episode in particular, both funny, both really emotional, both, just everything I felt like was in this episode. But before I get way too far ahead of myself, Rico, what were some of your instant reactions for episode 6?
Yeah, this is where it definitely started to ramp up. This has been a very like plot driven season so far, not like very action heavy like the first season was. And a lot of that, like all the little things that were set up throughout these first 5 episodes, but it really came to a perfect head here in episode 6, especially with the major reveal there, reveal there at the end there that we actually are on Earth X, which is pretty dope. Just like the way they kind of layer the reveal on top of it too, like going from the 2 Adrians, like going like, is Peacemaker your favorite, your best friend on this earth? And they're like, yes, next, no, I hate that guy. And then it leads to Autobio when she's taking her walk and the weird looks that she's getting from the normal citizen, and then also when Keith yells at her too. I won't say what he yells, but it's just pretty like, whoa, he can't believe he went there. And then of course, obviously the final shot of Peacemaker actually looking to see what the flag looks like at Argus too. Just like all those little things as they're all like this creepily being built up at the end, that last 10 minutes of the episode was just kind of like a chef's kiss reveal. That must have been a real fun thing, just kind of figuring out how you're gonna layer all those reveals on top of each other too. Like obviously starting at the smallest one, no one is taking the least serious with Adrian, and how that, I think using that to make it a kind of like a what the heck kind of a reveal too, because it just kind of comes out of nowhere with all those like silly questions that they're asking. And also reveals that the Sons of Liberty really aren't like the bad guys in that situation, just as it kind of was like kind of implied when Peacemaker kind of took him out that first time. I was like, these guys are way too like, one, concerned about each other, and also just like kind of like weak looking to be like real threats to the entire world, I feel like. So yeah, I just love the way they layered all that on top of each other. And just the next 2 episodes in general are just going to be batshit crazy just because of what we learned here at the end. So big leap to make for a second season of a show, not just for that part, but like you're so early into this universe and we're already doing like this version of an Earth. So I'm like, I'm all in. I'm all in.
Yeah,
I'm so ready.
I absolutely agree with you. I think that built so much tension because you were seeing, and I've said this in the past, not only about Peacemaker, but about shows and movies that can juggle a bunch of events that are happening at the same time, and how they can use that in a way to say like all these things are happening at the exact same time, like in real life where all these things would be happening at the same time. They're not waiting for this to wrap up conveniently and then this happens and this happens. They're all happening like concurrently at the exact same time. And that just built so much tension because we're sitting there as the audience going, oh fuck. And it's like an oh fuck right before something happens because you already know what's about to happen because you've seen the scene previous to that where it's already started to tip you off and you're like, oh fuck. Like,
and the way it's like it's set up with hardcore starting to realize like, the second she gets there, she's already like, this feels off. Like I don't even understand anything like how this is all working. And even she's like, she knows it from when Keith is giving her the ride and everything. Also the weird Beatles shift of Mick is the lead singer of the Beatles now too. So just subtle layering of just like making that reveal hit even harder, and it was just a masterpiece.
Yeah, it was crazy. And that kind of leads perfectly into one of my takeaways. So you want to get to some big takeaways?
Let's do it.
Awesome. All right. So just like I said, I had 2 kind of big things of this episode that I really wanted to mention just because I think they were absolutely worth mentioning. And the first one is, I mean, you were already starting to talk about, is the 2 biggest parts like that Adrian was in this. We get, when we're on Earth 1 still, and we get the glimpse into his secret lair and everything that's there, especially the Beanie Baby closet.
Yeah. I like that Chris messenger later too. Did you see the Beanie Baby?
Yeah.
It's a lot. I heard it's a lot. Like, he doesn't mention the whole Al Capone's vault thing.
Right. But then he like, as soon as like it's basically his one driving motivation is like, do you think there's another me on the Earth? Can I go go look for him and stuff like that? And then we finally get him to actually do that, and he's like, basically everything is virtually identical. Like there's very small similarity, like very small differences. Like the spelling of Cheerios, and something is a squirrel instead of a chipmunk, and he's just like giggling to himself and
His
everything.
dad's not gay, as he said.
Yeah.
That was one of the funniest. He's probably like, ah, he's just getting a
Yeah.
gleeful laugh out of everything. And just like, oh my God. Like,
And
they're
then-
so nonchalantly walking
Yeah.
through, like without a care in the world.
And then you have that moment when he addresses his other self, and you're like, oh shit, is this guy gonna be like the polar opposite of him and be like, who the fuck are you? You're a shapeshifter. I'm gonna shoot you or something like that. Because you get that split second where even when he takes off his mask, he's got like still the angry face on him.
Are you fucking kidding me?
And then he finally goes, are you fucking kidding me? And they
Yeah.
both just start. That's when they do the Spider-Man meme
Spider-Man
type of thing.
meme.
Yeah. And then when they go through the whole conversation, yeah, it's perfect. It's exactly what you wanted, an interaction with Adrian 1 and Adrian 2 to be. Basically, it's perfect there. And then, like you said, they use that to kind of kick off the initial reveals of, oh, we're getting into, what's different and because they are so similar. Every question is identical until you get to the part about Peacemaker and how Earth X Adrian is like, no, he's my mortal enemy. I've dedicated my entire life to bringing him down.
Him in the top trio, right? Yeah.
Right. So, and then he says, that's why I joined the Sons of Liberty and stuff like that. And then we get nothing else from that. And our Adrian goes, what? So, but that's literally what kind of kicks us off and going, oh no, we're about to find out everything now type of thing. Because that kicks into, ads and Economos back at the house with Eagly. Yeah. Like it kicks off basically everything. It kicks everything into motion. One of the other scenes that it starts to kick into motion is when we get our hardcourt going to Argus and then getting put into like I don't know, interrogation room.
Holding area. Yeah.
Holding area. She's not really in trouble. Obviously, they recognize her. They don't think obviously she's from a different world or anything. She just has drug residue and a drug dog happened to smell it type of thing. So it's just like,
I think Chris probably pulled some strings being like, what's going on here? And then just
right.
Like, yeah, she's clear. We'll let her go. And kind of thing, yeah.
But then we get that scene. And I believe I was talking about this last episode that James Gunn was mentioning in a scene, in one of the scenes from, 6, 7, or 8. There was a scene that he cannot watch without tearing up every single time he watched it. And I would be shocked if we were told that this was not the scene, because
100% is. Yeah.
This was such an emotional scene between, Chris and Hardcourt, where she is just like, really trying to tell him that, I'm a mess. You shouldn't, you shouldn't feel this way about me. I don't hate you. You need to come home, but let's not talk about this. Like, and he's just like, look, I love you. I don't care, what's
He's
going on.
Declaring it, and she's trying to like reject it while also not really saying. She wants to say it without actually having to say it.
Right. And just like I've watched that scene, probably 3 or 4 times at this point, because I watched this episode twice, and then just clips of this scene I've seen, on social media and stuff like that. And I agree. Every single time you can feel the emotion in that scene, and it speaks just volumes for both actors in that scene to be able to to do this back and forth with each other, and to really give off that raw kind of emotion in that scene, and to also have it affect the audience in this goofy comedy action show. Like you know what I mean? To have a scene like that is just it's just so impressive about, them, everybody involved basically, but those two are on screen, but like, the writers, James Gunn is the director, but these two actors, and being able to just, put forth that kind of raw emotion in that scene to, get a reaction like that from the audience, where it's just like, oh shit, like this is really heavy. And you can tell that these are two people that, really care about each other, and just, you want to just see them together. You want this happy ending type of thing. And it's just, I had to make sure I made a note of that, because it's almost like it's not polar opposites with the, the Adrian stuff, but 99% of the Adrian stuff is all goofy and funny and light. And it is like, just this fun part. And then to have this scene, almost directly after that is just like, holy shit. It just highlights both aspects of this episode, I feel like. And there's, like I said, there's so much in this episode that I feel like it really balances overall as a complete episode in general. Like, and that's not even getting into, the ads stuff. That's not even getting into the Economos stuff. That's not even getting, you know what I mean? Like all of this other stuff that's actually there and is in there. But like
flag stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But having these two things in that, like, so close to each other is just like, oh man, these were both on the ends of these spectrums of emotion, both humor, emotion, and just this love and just super raw emotion between these two characters. It's just it was perfect. I felt like having both aspects of that in in the span of 8 minutes of type of thing. It's just is crazy how much of a range that this one episode could have. And I just thought that was so impressive to me that I had to talk about it. But Rico, what were some of your takeaways for episode 6?
Yeah, to me, those are always the best scenes in movies or TV when it's just two great actors, just one-on-one talking to each other. It's a testament, one, to the writers, of course. I mean, in this case, James Gunn, how great of a writer he's always been. Their relationship always kind of gives me a little bit of like Star-Lord Gamora vibes in a sense, whereas, Peacemaker is kind of like that goofy but masculine at the same time kind of a thing. But at the same time, he's got the ass-kicking kind of girlfriend that he's in love with too, but she's also kind of like reluctant to confront that love head on as well too. Yeah. But kind of a similar trajectory, I feel like, that they're going there, which I think James is really good at writing that kind of a dynamic, which just makes watching it with these two actors just as captivating as watching Chris Pratt and Zoe Saldana do it when they were doing it with those characters. But yeah, I absolutely love that scene. It's probably my favorite scene of the entire season so far. One, that the one-on-one acting between those two, but also there's some great camera work in there too. I was watching James talk about the way he just likes like a moving camera in those scenes, just so it feels like a little bit more busy. And he was saying like if I had somebody else directing that scene, they would just have him sitting at a table with a still camera or something like that, and just wouldn't have hit as the same. So I'm like, yeah, that's there's always like really cool ways that get you like engaged into the scene in certain ways like that. But yeah, I just love the dynamic that those two characters have with each other. Is just really awesome to watch every single time. But we get some stuff with Rick Flag earlier here. It was there's a pretty funny scene with him and Flurry actually too, where he kind of just goes over again like the importance of getting the dimensional tech in their hands and Argus's hands. And he goes, I just need to stop and think. And then Flurry just sits down and thinking with him like, you're just like, there's that little part of Flurry too that just made him so funny. You just didn't even have to do that, but it was kind of a scene stealer moment for me. But at the end of that scene, he gets on the little intercom and he goes like, I'm going to Belle Reeve. I can meet a prisoner. And as soon as you hear the music, I was like, because I just rewatched Superman 2 over the weekend, and so I was kind of getting more familiar with like his story going into this episode, but getting to see Lex Luthor kind of post Superman, one walking with the cane because Krypto fucked him up, which is pretty cool. Like just the thing that he's like kind of walking with like a little bit like he's pretty messed up because he got beat up by a super dog, which is just kind of funny at the end of the day. But I love the one-on-one scene between him and Flag. I feel like Nicholas Holt's delivery as Lex here was a little bit more like kind of deeper in tone as opposed to how he was in Superman. I think he just not to say he sounded more like I don't know, it's like whiny younger guy in that, but this one reminded me almost kind of like he was giving off like Clancy Brown, Lex Luthor from like the Justice League animated series or the Superman animated series. He kind of got that little bit more of a deeper tone in the way that he kind of addresses himself to Flag. And I just like the dialogue written between those two characters is just excellent too. So like when if you take the actors out of it and you're just reading that on the page, you're like, well, that sounds like Lex Luthor right there on the page. So I just like the way that they negotiate with each other too is really great. Like he just has all the things I figured out that Flag is going to offer him and go, just get you a good offer. And then like, let me make my answer. He goes, you're not going to out negotiate me. I just love that. And then like, he tries to get his freedom. He's like, nah, I'm not going to get you that. And he goes, I'll give you a chance for redemption. And of course, Lex is intrigued by that, which I'm sure is going to lead into whatever might set him up for the Man of Tomorrow movie with Superman, of course. But I just love that scene. Again, another great one-on-one scene between two very good actors, Nicholas Hoult and Frank Grillo. And yeah, just getting to see a major DCU character like that, like Lex Luthor in the show is pretty cool. Obviously, we got to see Peacemaker in the Superman movie, which is like just kind of obviously them being filming concurrently and stuff like that. So I just like that leaves room for other cool opportunities like this. So I hope it's not the end for Lex or even more from those movies to show up.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think I'm really interested. Obviously, you know, I'm always going to be interested in what's coming up next and stuff, and if we will get, you know, another tease of what, you know, the arrangement was with Lex.
Mhm.
You know, because obviously when he walks out and he's talking to Sasha Bordeaux's character again, he's basically saying we just became partners with Lex Luthor. I think
Yeah.
is something that he said, and so like I'm wondering what that entails. But obviously, like you said, that's breadcrumbs to, you know, Man of Tomorrow, basically. But yeah, I'm curious if we're going to get any more insight into like what that went into, or if that's all going to be, you know, explored in that movie and stuff like that moving forward.
I forgot to mention him
What?
mentioning a fairly graphic scene.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
In his jail cell too.
Yeah.
I felt like that was like had to go without mentioning that. I was trying to figure out, like, just based off of his description, what characters that might be. Like,
Yeah.
I saw one saying it might be like a Killer Croc or something like that, getting down with somebody
Yeah.
in Belle Reve. But yeah, I mean, if he's right by, you know, Task Force M, you know, where all those monsters are, and from Creature Commandos, you never know how, you know, if he's being held in that same unit, maybe that'd be kind of interesting.
Well,
we're seeing some weird stuff going on.
Yeah. In reference to that one particular thing that he was talking about, which we don't have to mention. If you watch the episode, you know exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, you know.
I think he would have said glowing green, not just green guy, because Dr. Phosphorus definitely has a very distinct look. Also, he has no eyes, not cartoon eyes. So,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, I don't.
Oh yeah, there could definitely be others in there that are like that.
Right.
I was trying to figure out who that other guy could be. Who's the other glowing cartoon eyes? Like, who's he trying to talk about there?
Yeah, I do think maybe it was more of a reference, like a small little reference to Killer Croc. I think, you know, it's more.
Yeah, it's like blue scaled. It was big blue scale guy or scaled wolf man. I forget how he describes the bigger guy, but it was like very Killer Croc-esque.
Right, exactly. But yeah, that scene was I didn't even recognize the music as much. I knew it had importance, obviously, and I was like, oh, it's probably like just going off of, you know, what we had talked about in episode 5, leaving things, you know, as we left them out, talking about characters that we were potentially and kind of both agreeing. I know you brought it up, but I basically agreed. I was like, yeah, that totally makes sense that if Lex Luthor were to pop up. So I was pretty sure of that, but until like I actually saw him sit down, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Lex Luthor. Okay. But yeah,
I think having having watched the movie recently too, the score of him, like the music, I was like, "Ooh, that's a nice." I love when they use the musical cues like that too.
Right.
No, Marvel has always been really good about that too. Whenever a character shows up and they have like a little bit of a theme show up with that character, so I like that we're starting to get that with these DC characters a little bit too, which is pretty cool.
Absolutely. But yeah, I loved that scene too. Like I said, this episode was just full of so much like stuff. Like we could spend like hours unpacking everything in this episode. We're not. Like, don't worry about that. But yeah, you know what I mean? Like, there's just so much that happened in this episode. And if that is the blueprint for what's going to happen in, you know, episode 7 and episode 8, we are in store. This could get so much crazier.
Yeah.
With just, you know, how they used every second of episode 6. Like, if they do the same with episode 7 and episode 8, there is so much stuff we can still get, and it's super exciting. And before I, you know, kind of dip my toe into talking about some of the stuff that we could potentially be getting, Rico, would you like to get to some predictions?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. All right, why don't you kick off predictions?
Yeah, so we're 2 episodes left, you know, so we're really, you know, getting into the, you know, the penultimate episode, which I feel I always say historically these episodes go pretty hard. But James Gunn has said that 6 and 8 are his favorite episodes, like I think of anything he's done.
Wow.
So now that we've seen 6 and we saw how great that was, I'm very particularly excited for 8, but obviously we got 7 in between there to look forward to as well. And if you watch the preview after episode 6, there's some pretty interesting little nuggets in there. I feel like there's a particular shot which kind of follows up on the whole Lex connection thing. I feel like because it shows Rick Flag, you know, talking to another prisoner essentially, but where my theory gets into this is probably confusing because you mentioned a character, the other guy that works for Lex with the hair and the mustache, who's played by
And the
Steve Blackheart.
glasses. Yeah.
Yeah, and the glasses, who's kind of going against Lex, and like because he's trying to reason with Lex at some point in the movie, but Lex just won't listen to him. He's just that kind of far driven into beating Superman at that point. I think it was when the dimensional rift was coming towards the tower,
Right.
and he didn't realize that they could actually float. I think,
Right.
but so yeah, I think it'd be kind of interesting if that was a character. But if they're gonna tease him like that, because there was a voiceover that played over that. He was like, "Why would I help you?" But the voice sounded so much like David Cornsweet's Superman, which I was like, this doesn't make any sense unless they have, they somehow make their way over the Earth X maybe, and then they can get into Argus, or maybe there's a Rick Flag Senior over there that has a lot of access to prisoners, like an Overman, who is a Earth X version of Superman, who is not a good guy. So it'd be a pretty bold move if we actually got to see that version of Superman already so early into the DCU. But I'm very particular to see how that actually plays out. I think the Stevie Blackheart character, whatever his name is from the movie, is possibly the more likely one because he's also very close friends with James Gunn. But yeah, I'm just as excited to see how that turns out. But another thing that's recently, kind of crossed my feeds and stuff that I'd never even considered up until this point is the fact that Peacemaker's helmets look awfully similar to another DC character named Orion, who's got kind of a similar design I remember from the Justice League animated series. But he's one of the kind of like the new gods. I think he's also he's the son of Darkseid. But he could, if there is some kind of way to explain maybe how some of these helmets came to be, maybe even the Earth X version of Peacemaker's helmets. If maybe Augie got this from like New God tech in some ways, and obviously the DCU, like chapter 1 or the first chapter of the DCU, whatever we'll call it, is called Gods and Monsters. So there's got to be at some point where we're bringing the gods aspect of this. We've seen a lot of monsters already. We've seen plenty of kaiju's and all that. But if they drop this massive bomb that like Peacemaker's helmets actually have a tie to kind of dark side technology, the new gods and stuff like that, that'd be a pretty wild connection to make, and also a pretty cool way to start setting up that aspect of the DCU, which has never really given like its proper setup. Like we just kind of got thrown into it in Zack Snyder's Justice League. There's kind of little hints here and there, but this would be a cool way to kind of start to tease that, in my opinion. I don't think we'll actually see Orion, but they might mention that there's a guy named Orion who has a similar helmet or something like that. So that'd be pretty cool, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be awesome. And yeah, that is still, one of the questions that's kind of always been kind of looming in the background is how did, either Augie, get the tech for the helmets? Is the Earth X Augie an actual genius? And, the Earth One, our normal Augie that was killed off in season 1, would he just make a deal with him and got some of his rejected ones or his prototype ones type of thing for our Peacemaker all this time? We really don't know. Or did both of them steal tech? Like in both scenarios, did they both figure out or make a deal with someone else, like someone else that had more like access to dark side tech and stuff like that, and just both happened because both universes were somewhat similar. But I guess maybe not both universes, obviously, because Earth X is very different than Earth. But both Augies maybe were in the same boat where they were able to make some sort of deal with someone else to get this tech to use pretty much similar ways. But just like I said, the Earths were so different that one Augie is a white supremacist and is kind of this big racist villain, and then in Earth X he is the same person, but he's
no different.
He's just looked at as a hero because that's what this Earth is.
We still don't know how that's going to end with him and Economos either. Oh my gosh.
We don't know. I am worried about Economos, but like that is basically my broadest thing that I was going to say in predictions from that teaser, which I always look forward to now, right after the the kind of funny extra bonus scene that in this one I thought was just hilarious, that our hardcore was stuck in a lie, and so she just kept making it worse and worse, talking about a snow globe about she's been talking to his dead mom because she's been haunting like like that.
Yeah, when he was 2.
Yeah. Well, she's the ghost.
She's a sweet ghost.
but yeah, I've been looking after those scenes finish. I've been looking forward to kind of the teaser for the next episode, and it's so quick. But yeah, there is so much in there. So obviously, we can gather, just like you were saying, that Earth X Augie already knows that this is not his Peacemaker.
Mhm.
Like, he already knew that type of thing. I don't know if I don't know if there's like a moment of him researching things, from when he learns that from Economos, and then he, puts it into terms like he already knew. But there is that shot also in the teaser where he talks to our Chris and goes, "Why did you come back?" Like, type of thing. So he must have known from some time period that he Earth 1's Peacemaker was over here type of thing. So I'm very confused in that. I hope we can find out, what's going on, or, anything like that. It would be absolutely crazy if we found out, the underlying theme were that both Augies were working together all of this time. And like, comparing notes about, the two different Peacemakers and all of this stuff. And maybe that's like another reason why the Augie from Earth 1 resented our Peacemaker, because he saw, how Keith could have grown up and they could have been, this team of like a 3, that type of thing. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder how much contact, or if he had any contact, but it kind of leads me to believe that if, one of them knew about it, maybe the other one did too. It's just like, it's so interesting. And I hope we learn more about like those kind of connections, if there's anything crazy like reveals in the background and stuff like that. The one reveal we didn't get a chance to find out is if, Earth X Hardcourt knew that our Peacemaker wasn't the real Peacemaker type of thing. Because like I was saying, as we were in predictions for, last episode, we never saw them embrace in that moment. At the very, very end, it cut to black before they even got a chance to get together. So I still wonder if she knew. I mean, obviously she knows now, because, she tells the Argus people to arrest our Hardcourt, and says like, she's not me. That's not really me type of thing. So obviously the veil is lifted now, but I was just always wondering if she had some, because there were a bunch of theories that like little breadcrumbs that maybe she knew something was off all along. And I was hoping we were going to get some kind of scene like that, where she was saying like, I don't know who you are, but you seem like a better person than the person that was here, like type of thing. And I was always wondering if we were going to kind of get that kind of talk. But there's just so much to take in. I mean, and obviously at some point we're getting the characters back together and getting them through the doorway, because that's another clip we get, is them running through the doorway, but we don't see everybody, which also makes me, even more worried about Economos, because I don't remember seeing him running through the door, like the doorway to go to the expansive world. And then I still want to know if we're going to have, the one alien that's in all of those multiple doors that kind of has interacted with, at this point, every character from our Earth. I wonder if we're going to get some reveal that he is something too. Like, I'm still wondering, because he is in the intro. Like, I'm not saying, every character in the intro is the most important character ever, but like,
yeah, I mean, Vigilante's mom's in it.
I mean, we just had a bunch of her.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen the aliens more than her.
Yeah, but like, I don't know. I wonder if we're going to get a chase scene through that, and they're going to get back to their world and have to try to shut the doorway as fast as possible. And if that alien is going to help, like, come into play and help them, or something like that. That's what I'm curious about. I did see Judo Master really quick. If I'm not mistaken, I did see him in, I thought I saw somebody.
I imagine that whoever, I imagine they catch out a bio, and that wherever they take her is where they probably took Judo Master when they saw him out and about too. That would be my guess personally.
Yeah, I'm wondering. I'm also wondering how then Vigilante was able to kind of just walk the streets with his suit, or if he just got lucky. Because like that,
I think his was just dumb luck. I think at that
yeah,
point. Yeah.
I mean, that's supposed to describe
not caring enough that he got that lucky.
Right.
His impromptu jumped into the bush the second he saw a car. That was really funny, because you see the bush just like
it just flattens. Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, I think he's just stupidly lucky in that sense.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, there was so much in this episode. I feel like we didn't even cover half of everything that happened in this episode. And yeah, I am so ready for, all of what we got little teases for in episode 7. And yeah, if that's the truth, where, James Gunn is saying it's even bigger to look forward to in episode 8, I that just makes me even more excited for the last 2 episodes, like from there, because of how, jam-packed episode 6 was.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm here for it. I cannot wait for episode 7 this week. And yeah, I think that sums it up perfectly. At least
more weeks.
Yeah. I'm both happy and sad because I don't want this
yeah.
to be over, and we have no confirmation of a season 3. And I understand, they're doing that because we've already seen James Gunn kind of answer people and go like, let's let this finish first so that kind of you know what's happening and what.
I think he wants to give himself a break from writing another season of it for a little bit too.
Yeah.
after writing Superman and Peacemaker 2 kind of concurrently, I feel like he's like, I'm gonna just like after. I think he just wrote Man of Tomorrow. Like he cranks out the scripts.
It just it makes me nervous because I am enjoying all of these characters and I am really enjoying this, and I don't want to see this series come to an end. I don't want to see the season come to an end, but I don't want to see the series come to an end. And I know, there is something to say about maybe ending it on top and then seeing these characters have bigger things in the, DCU overall. Like that's always a potential and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm not ready to say goodbye to everything yet. So I'm hoping with the way that this ends, we still have the door open for season 3. But
sure.
Yeah, in the meantime, as we always say, that's what we think. Let us know in the comments below. What was your, favorite part of episode 6? I mean, was it seeing Lex Luthor? Was it, seeing 2 vigilantes in the same place? What was it? The Beanie Baby collection? Because we got that too. We pretty much had everything. And what do you think? How do you think this is going to wrap up? Like, what cameos do you still think we could potentially get? What is going to happen when these final 2 episodes? And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to hear about all of our latest audio and video podcast releases. Bye, everybody!
Poppin' Off presents That Recap Show.